Picture this. You're tracking a mammoth across the frozen steppe 35,000 years ago. Your spear is ready, your hunting party is coordinated. You've been following this animal for 3 days, and tonight your entire clan eats or they don't. The mammoth turns. You lunge. Your foot catches on a hidden root, and you hear it before you feel it. That wet crack that means your leg bone just snapped in half. You're 200 miles from anything resembling shelter. There are no hospitals, no ambulances, no morphine, no surgical steel, no x-ray machines, just you, a shattered bone, and the brutal arithmetic of survival. And what happens next? Do you die? Do your people abandon you? Do you spend the rest of your short life dragging a useless limb behind you as a burden to your tribe? The answer is going to upend everything you think you know about both ancient resilience and modern medical dependency. Because what actually happened when ancient humans broke bones is simultaneously more sophisticated and more brutal than our sanitized modern imagination can easily handle. And the way they solved the problem of catastrophic injury without any of our medical technology reveals something profound about what the human body is actually capable of. Something we've almost entirely forgotten in our rush toward pharmaceutical solutions and surgical interventions. Here's what's going to mess with your head. The assumption that ancient humans just toughed it out is completely wrong. Dead wrong. Archaeological evidence from around the world tells a different story entirely. Ancient humans developed bone-setting techniques, pain management protocols, immobilization strategies, and social care systems that were not just functional, but in some cases more effective than what we were doing in hospitals as recently as 150 years ago. Let's start with the most fundamental thing, because this is where modern people get confused about what actually happens when bones break. Bone healing is not a modern medical miracle. It's an ancient biological process that has been working flawlessly for millions of years, long before humans existed, long before any medical intervention was possible. Your bones know how to fix themselves. They have always known how to fix themselves. What modern medicine provides is optimization, acceleration, and prevention of complications. But the core healing mechanism is built into your DNA and has been there since our earliest vertebrate ancestors. When a bone breaks, the body initiates a 3-stage healing cascade. First, the inflammatory phase, where blood clots form at the fracture site and immune cells rush in to clear debris and prevent infection. Second, the reparative phase, where cartilage and soft bone tissue bridge the gap between the broken ends, essentially creating biological scaffolding. Third, the remodeling phase, where the temporary repair tissue is gradually replaced with mature, strong bone that can actually end up stronger than the original. This process requires no external intervention to function. None. What it requires is immobilization of the fracture site, adequate nutrition, and time. Everything else is optimization. Ancient humans understood this intuitively, not through medical theory, but through direct observation of what worked and what didn't over thousands of generations of trial and error. The archaeological record contains abundant evidence of successfully healed fractures in prehistoric human remains. Not just simple breaks, but complex fractures that required significant intervention to heal properly. A famous example comes from Shanidar Cave in Iraq, where archaeologists discovered the skeleton of a Neanderthal man who lived approximately 50,000 years ago. This individual had suffered multiple severe injuries during his life, including a crushing blow to the skull, a withered right arm, and a badly broken leg. All of these injuries had healed, and the individual lived for years after sustaining them. Years. In a world where a broken leg should have been a death sentence, this person was not only kept alive during the vulnerable healing period, but successfully reintegrated into the social and productive life of his group. This is not an isolated case. Healed fractures appear consistently in prehistoric skeletal remains from every continent where humans lived. Arm bones set at proper angles. Leg bones that healed straight enough to bear weight normally. Even complex skull fractures that healed without the kind of infection. The success rate is high enough that it cannot be explained by luck or natural healing alone. It requires deliberate intervention, knowledge, and technique. The Inuit people of the Arctic developed bone-setting techniques that modern orthopedic surgeons recognize as sophisticated and effective. When a bone was broken, experienced healers would manipulate the fracture back into proper alignment, a process called reduction, using techniques for muscle relaxation and positioning that are taught in medical schools today. They created splints from wood, bone, and sinew that held the fracture immobilized during the critical early healing period. They understood that proper alignment during healing was the difference between a functional limb and a permanent disability. Traditional Aboriginal Australian medicine includes bone-setting practices that incorporate detailed anatomical knowledge about how different bones heal and what complications to watch for. Healers could distinguish between fractures that would heal well and fractures that required more complex intervention. They developed splinting materials from local plants that provided exactly the right balance of rigidity and flexibility to support healing without cutting off circulation. The Kalenjin people of Kenya maintain traditional bone-setting knowledge that has been passed down through generations. Their methods include fracture reduction techniques, plant-based materials for splinting, and sophisticated understanding of the healing timeline for different types of breaks. Success rates for traditional healing are comparable to modern medical outcomes. But here's where the story gets genuinely remarkable. Pain management. The assumption that ancient humans just suffered through the agony of a broken bone without any way to dull the pain is not only wrong, it reveals a profound ignorance about the pharmacological sophistication of traditional medicine. The natural world is a pharmacy. It always has been. Ancient humans were skilled pharmacists long before the first medical school existed. Opium poppies have been used for pain relief for at least 6,000 years. Archaeological evidence from Neolithic sites in Europe shows deliberate cultivation of poppies for their psychoactive properties. The active compounds in opium, morphine, and codeine are chemically identical whether they come from a prehistoric poppy field or a modern pharmaceutical facility. The pain relief is equally effective. Willow bark contains salicin, which the human body converts to salicylic acid, the same active compound in aspirin. Chewing willow bark for pain relief is documented across multiple continents and cultures throughout history. The chemical mechanism is identical to taking an aspirin tablet. The pain relief is real, measurable, and effective. Cannabis has been used medicinally for thousands of years across Asia, Africa, and the Americas. The cannabinoid compounds that provide pain relief, THC and CBD, work on the same neurological pathways regardless of whether the plant was harvested in ancient China or grown in a modern dispensary. Numerous other plants contain compounds with analgesic, anti-inflammatory, or sedative properties that would have been available to prehistoric healers. Valerian root for sedation and muscle relaxation. Kraton for pain relief. Various fungi with psychoactive properties for severe pain management. The idea that ancient humans had no pharmaceutical options for managing the pain of serious injury is a modern myth based on ignorance about ethnobotany. Beyond the biochemistry, there's the social dimension of ancient injury care. And this is where the difference between prehistoric and modern healing becomes most striking. In a small hunter-gatherer band, everyone's survival depends on everyone else's functional capacity. An injured group member is not a burden to be abandoned. They represent lost hunting capacity, lost gathering knowledge, lost childcare, lost tool-making expertise. This creates powerful incentives for the group to invest heavily in healing injured members. Not out of altruism, though that may have played a role, but out of practical necessity. A hunter with a well-healed leg bone is a productive member of the group. A hunter with a poorly healed leg bone that leaves them permanently disabled represents a net loss of resources and capability that small groups living at subsistence levels cannot afford. Archaeological evidence suggests that injured individuals in prehistoric groups received intensive care during the healing period. Food was brought to them. They were protected from predators and environmental threats. Their position in the group was maintained despite temporary incapacity. This social support system was not incidental to healing. It was medically necessary. Stress hormones inhibit bone healing. Social isolation impairs immune function. The emotional and social care provided by the group had direct biochemical effects that improved healing outcomes. The knowledge systems around bone healing in traditional cultures are strikingly sophisticated. Healers understood that different bones heal at different rates. They knew that age affects healing speed and that children's bones heal faster than adults. They could predict complications and adjust treatment accordingly. They developed diagnostic techniques for assessing whether a bone was healing properly without any imaging technology, using palpation, observation of functional recovery, and pain patterns to guide treatment decisions. In many traditional healing systems, bone setters were specialists, individuals who dedicated years to learning the craft, and who were recognized and respected for their expertise. This was not folk medicine in the sense of random remedies passed down without understanding. This was systematic empirical medicine based on careful observation and accumulated knowledge about what worked. Now let's talk about what this actually means for you, sitting here in the modern world with access to emergency rooms and orthopedic surgeons and titanium plates and screws. Because there's a profound irony in how we think about injury and healing today that the ancient world reveals with uncomfortable clarity. We have medicalized injury recovery to a degree that we have lost confidence in our own body's ability to heal. Every broken bone becomes a medical emergency requiring immediate professional intervention. Every healing process becomes a source of anxiety about whether we're doing everything right. We have traded traditional knowledge about self-care, pain management, and the natural healing process for dependence on medical professionals and pharmaceutical interventions. This is not an argument against modern medicine. Modern emergency medicine saves lives that would have been lost in any previous era. Surgical techniques allow repair of injuries,